Today, we're going to talk about something that affects all of us, our thoughts. More specifically, we'll dive into cognitive distortions, which are patterns of thinking that can be unhelpful and even harmful when we're trying to make sense of our world. Let's break it down. Cognitive distortions are simply ways our brain tricks us into believing something that isn't entirely true. These thought patterns can lead to unnecessary stress, anxiety, and frustration. But by recognizing them, we can start to challenge and change these thought patterns. Let's start with the first distortion, mental filter. This happens when we focus on the negatives while filtering out any positives. Imagine you receive feedback at work. You did 9 things well, but one thing could be improved. Instead of focusing on what you did well, you obsess over that one mistake. That's the mental filter in action. Next is jumping to conclusions. This happens when you assume you know what someone else is thinking or make negative predictions about the future without any solid evidence. Ever think someone's mad at you because they didn't reply right away? That's jumping to conclusions. Then there's emotional reasoning, which is when we believe that just because we feel something, it must be true. You might think, I feel worthless, so I must be worthless, even though there's no factual basis for that thought. Catastrophizing is when we assume the worst possible outcome will happen. Maybe you have a big presentation tomorrow, and you're convinced that if you mess up, your entire career will be over. That's catastrophizing, thinking the worst without considering more likely outcomes. Labeling is when we define ourselves or others based on a single action or characteristic. For example, you make one mistake and think, I'm such an idiot. Instead of seeing it as just one moment, you label your whole self negatively. Blaming involves placing all the responsibility for a situation on someone else or ourselves, even when it's not fully in our control. You might think, if only my boss were better, I wouldn't be so stressed, instead of acknowledging other factors. Finally, there's should statements. These are the rules we set for ourselves that create pressure and unrealistic expectations. You might say, I should have done better, or I shouldn't have made that mistake. These thoughts can lead to unnecessary guilt and frustration. These are just a few examples of cognitive distortions. Remember, it's normal to experience these patterns from time to time. The key is recognizing when they happen and then challenging them. When we challenge unhelpful thinking, we can reduce stress and make better decisions. So, next time you catch yourself thinking negatively, ask yourself, is this thought realistic? By adjusting your thinking, you'll not only feel better, but also make clearer decisions. Thanks for watching, and remember, challenge your thoughts.